What's up players, this is Dudeversa here, and welcome back to another video where today we're doing another ranking. This is a patrol ranking. This is a ranking of all of the items and also the spells that are within the Fate Infinity Ruins mod that I created. So I got all these tiers right here. Super efficient is you can use every single time. Like, it's pretty useful. Definitely use it. You can use it, but it's not gonna be the biggest thing in the world. Would use, but not much. Basically, you would use, but you wouldn't use it anymore. So yeah. I don't know. Probably not. Well, it depends on if you want to use this item for testing or not. And then useless, which is the the big like bad tier. Like the item is bad. There's no really any use with it. The cheat one is for the following two items. So let me get them right now. The Chartered Infinity Sword of Death, and also the Infinity Ruins Cheat Sword. They both immediately go in the the cheat tier because, well, they have very high stats and they would be overpowered, and so it would instantly put them up to super efficient, which we don't. It would be kind of cheating. So let's actually start this actual tier list up with our first item, which is being the Infinity Ruins Portal Book. Now, throughout updates, throughout like a bunch of updates, the Infinity Ruins Portal Book and a bunch of other items that involve opening the portal to Infinity Ruins became useless. But they're not completely useless, but they can sometimes be used when you don't have the God's Book of Town portals. So basically, so where did this go exactly? So I would say this goes in would use, but not much. Because again, when you have the God's Book of Town portals, you don't need to use any of the items that involve opening a portal to Infinity Ruins and getting out of it and stuff. Like, you basically have no use for those items. Otherwise, for like um like pre-game, starting up, Anyway, we're moving on to our first of our 7 drugs, right? 7. So this is the blue capsule, and what this does is it replenishes your mana when used, and basically that's useful for when you're running out of mana. So I would put down definitely use, but it's not very super efficient because there's other stuff that gives you mana that would be much more beneficial than one capsule, because that capsule is one use, and plus the more useful way to get mana is to use Big GG Potion, which increases your mana. So here we have the Death Capsule. This one is a big trickster. My boy EricSo2000 found out that the Death Capsule is it would kill you if you have low stats, and I find that funny that he realized that the Death Capsule was pretty deadly, because it's the Death Capsule. Basically, what the Death Capsule does, it gives you a very harsh poison. It will basically it's designed to kill you, but if you add higher stats, it will have a better chance of having you survive. So the Death Capsule by itself is pretty useless, because you can't use it to fend off other monsters in the realm, because it's only for your player or your pet. And if you apply it to your pet, because the pet has lower health than you, they can actually die because of how fast they lose health. So moving on to the less deadlier than the Death Capsule, being the Green Capsule. This gives you poison, but it's a very like short amount of time that you would have this applied, so it would have like a very little chance of killing you. So again, like I would put this in, I don't know, probably not, even though it should be useless because basically it's pretty yeah, let's put it in useless, because it's not a practical capsule to use because it's not really useful at all. So that's what I want to say here, because most capsules are not useful at all, because the capsules are supposed to have like negative, positive effects, and they're not supposed to be that efficient. Then we have the red capsule, which deals with health, as you can probably tell by the cross sign on the capsule. Before the update where the icons were added to the capsules, they didn't have the icon on them, so you didn't know what these items would do, except for the death capsule, because the death capsule had the skull way before, and then later on I decided to add icons to it to make sure like you know which one does. So the M indicating mana, the cross symbol being health, the 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 diamond with a black skull on it is the green capsule, and the death capsule is obviously the skull in between. And then you have the sprint lines, which are the endurance capsule. So the red capsule you would use, but not much, because at that point you would have like stuff that would heal you even more than a red capsule. Moving on to the endurance capsule, which this one deals with your stamina. If you played Fate games, you know there you have a stamina meter that goes down when you're running. So your stamina, for like if you want to get your stamina up quicker, you can use this. But that becomes obsolete with a big GG item. And that big GG item is the big GG endurance. And I'm not automatically putting big GG items in the cheat because they're technically not. Because some of them don't have big uses on them, like the big GG potion. The big GG potion doesn't really have a big use. But we're talking about the endurance capsule here, so I would say definitely use. We haven't got one with the super efficient yet. We should be getting there. So moving on to our first of many weapons, being the cheese sword. So this is the normal cheese sword, and it does a decent amount of damage, but it's not really that great, because things like the emerald sword does it better, because the emerald sword is the strongest out of the main swords. So cheese sword I would use, but not much, because the cheese sword, if you have a cheese sword, you wouldn't be feeling as fantastical with a cheese sword, because you'll be holding a sword with made out of cheese. You know, you don't feel like a warrior, but it's just not as strong as many of the other swords. So moving on, and yeah, okay. So this is the Rockwood Coca, because the more purple one is the fungus version. The Coca is a pretty useful one because Coca can heal you, and I'm pretty sure give you mana. Coca can give you mana as well, like health and mana. So this one is pretty much definitely like use in some cases, because again but this one is much more like beneficial than the red capsule, because the red capsule only does health. Coca does your mana and your health, which is pretty useful. Moving on to the first of the mineral swords, being the diamond sword. Now this one You should definitely be super efficient. Basically, a bunch of the mineral swords would be super efficient, but this one, like this one is way before the ruby sword came into play and dethroned the diamond sword. The diamond sword did a decent amount of damage to enemies, doing like 200 damage to 400, which is pretty neat for yeah, like basically the diamond sword is pretty super efficient, like a weapons wise, but the one that really deserves the crown is the emerald sword. The emerald sword, you cannot get it. You cannot disagree that this sword is the strongest out of them all. Using that with a ruby sword is an insane combo. So emerald sword, the best of the swords in this mod. And we're moving on to one of our first spells, being the Alchemical Requiem spell. This spell is mostly casted by the idols, which are the monsters that are shaped like eyes. So this one can do damage to anything, but this one isn't as useful because it's not an area effect attack. It's a single target mostly with like blasting like damage. So I would say would use, but not much. Not much. Like, you would use it sometimes, but probably not that much. So we're moving on to the fishes, and I'm gonna quickly rank the fishes. The worst one out of the four is the bottle bobby. He is deemed useless because having bottle bobs on your team is kind of horrendous because I don't think you really have that great stats as well. So move on to the second worst, being the Mykian. So I would put that, I don't know, probably not, because Mykian has like pretty low stats compared to the Raffasias and the Bucklesmith. So and the next one is the Raffasias I would use, but not much, and then the Bucky Bass is like I would definitely use. Like, if you're picking a fish to use, Bucklesmith is definitely where your alley. Raffasias definitely has a big damage, but I'm pretty sure Bucklesmith will be more stronger than that. Moving on to the Fungus Coca, and this one is super useless because this one, as name suggests, it will poison you because this coca comes from a mushroom, and this would mostly come from the caps, to be perfectly honest, like because they're mushrooms. So yeah, don't eat this because it will poison you. That's my fun here. God's Book of Town Portals will be super efficient because God's Book of Town Portals has infinite uses. It will never run out. Basically, it's your like little button that brings up a portal for you, but you just have to right click on it, open the portal, and then you're back in town. Pretty good. So moving on to Big GG Endurance. So here's the problem with this one. This one is not super efficient when going into later into the game because you'll be in a higher level where your stamina wouldn't matter. So I would say definitely use, but not that much. And it's gonna be at the top because it's not as, a useless, you're not gonna definitely use this, you know. It's definitely a need to have. Big GG Coffee is super efficient because it gets rid of a bunch of bad effects by the list. If you look into the items that, I will even have like a list of the potions that it gets rid of, like in the slideshow. That's in the link in my Twitter. Go to like Twitter/x.com/ at DVM input. That's my Twitter account/X account. So you can um go into that link and check out the information. Not all the information is there because again this slideshow is in development, so it's gonna take longer to get everything in there. So big GG medicine you could definitely use because, well, it's not super efficient because you won't need it for all the game because you'll get to the point where you don't need to heal as much, and you could use like healing charms, but this one can still be useful in many ways. Big GG medicine. So big GG potion. This one is like probably I don't know, probably not. Like it it's like down there, like it's like so hard to like try to guess where this is gonna go because big GG potion, it does it brings up your mana. That's what it does. But when it comes to a time when you have like enough magic, like a bunch of magic that brings up your mana, it really doesn't matter because your mana won't run out as easily. Because some spells don't use that much magic. Anyway, moving on to another mineral sword, being the golden sword. Now this one is like in the definitely use. You know, kind of wish that there would be a durability feature in Fate, huh? Well, no, because if there was, I would have put the durability in low to match Minecraft, and this would be a bit lower. So it does like pretty significant damage. You won't need to use it as much because you have a bunch of other swords to rely on. So moving on to another like somewhat efficient but not super efficient, being the identifying glass. Being one of the recent ones, it's pretty much a definitely use, to be perfectly honest. Because what it does, it's basically identifying scroll, but it has no limited uses. Basically, you can use it anytime you want. It doesn't run out because it's a magnifying glass. You can use it anytime you want. So basically this one, it can be super good, but it's not super efficient. It's a definitely used item. So this is the iron sword. Yeah. Even though it looks a little bit great, but I can see the stone sword right there. So the iron sword is, it's another definitely use because again, metal swords in general are still useful. Like the iron one is still useful in the stages. Like there's no like getting crazy with this, you know. Like you can use it, you can not use it. It's your decision. Moving on to the mage staff, which I'm gonna deem probably not gonna use at all because the mage staff doesn't really do shit. Because the mage actually, you know what? I'm putting this in useless because it really doesn't do anything. It just acts like a staff. But the main thing the mage staff was supposed to be is it was supposed to be a main item that the monster mage would hold, and they would drop it. But every monster drops it, every monster holds it, so it doesn't really have its like uniqueness. So that's probably why mage staff is always going to be useless. So moving on to the Infinity Runes Portal Medallion. Yeah. you know where that's going, because basically what I said before when talking about the Infinity Ruins Portal Book. Basically, a bunch of these bunch like the Infinity Ruins Portal Book and the Medallion and the Infinity Ruins Scroll became useless when the God's Book of Temples came along. Like, every time when a new item is better than the other, it gets overshadowed. So, useless tier. That's it. Can't chat me otherwise. So, moving on to one of the best swords to use with the Emerald Sword, being the Ruby Sword. It's a super efficient. You should definitely use it. It's one of the newer ones. It came in the 3.5.0 update. So I'm going to give you clarification that a 3.6.0 will come later down the line. It won't be as quickly because again, coming back to the mod. So basically, I'm just going to be releasing patches throughout until I am ready to make a big update again. So we're moving on to a gem, which, as you all know, is a socket. It's the Runic Roit. Basically, it adds 6 HP to your player, to your armor, or your weapon that's sword here, But again, it's something that you wouldn't really use as much because it's only 6 HP. It's only 8. It's only plus 6. It's not really that useful in its other ways. So we're moving on to the Infinity Ruins Portal Scroll, Town Portal Scroll. Infinity Ruins Town Portal Scroll. Yeah, that's it. This one is in the useless tier. So because this one it became pretty useless in the later updates. Moving on to the last 5 of our spells. Starting off with our first charm spell being Summon Bucklesmith. Now this one is a definitely use because Bucklesmiths are strong in health and damage, so they are pretty good as allies, but they're not pretty good to go up against when going into the dungeon because they are strong. So moving on to the first defense magic in the first defense spell in Infinity Ruins, the newest one being the Flash spell, and this one is an enhanced haste. So this one is super efficient because it's more faster than regular haste. So you can't go and say this is a bad spell. So next up is Grimacely, and this one is a pretty good one. It's a super efficient one because it's like Divine Light. But Divine Light, the problem with that one is it only does damage to undead enemies. But Grimacely does basically damage to everything. Now, there was nothing really I could have done to really, well, I'm pretty sure I did make it more efficient. So yeah, let's put this in the solid super efficient tier, ODS here, if you like to call it. So next up is the Super Mykian. No, so I said Super Mykian. I meant Summon Mykian spell. Now this one is pretty niche because this one, it's the Mykians, so they're not as strong. So this one I would use, but probably not that much. I know Eric uses it for most cases, but I would rather whenever you get closer to different other spells, I would rather use the Summon Bucklesmith spell and the Summon Rafflesia spell. Speaking of which, that's our next one, and this one is super efficient because Rafflesias are pretty strong in damage, and that's good when you want to kill off an enemy real quickly. You just have multiple rapid CSs, and that damage will be upped significantly. So, basically, out of all summon spells, this is the one you definitely need to get. So, last two items, and this one, the Stone Sword, is probably, I don't know, probably not. Because it has, like, pretty better low damage, and it's not really that good, like, pretty much, for most of the monsters in Infinity Ruins. And then the last one, is, the Wooden Sword, which is a, I don't know, probably not. So, that's it. That's all the items and spells. I'll do another one involving the monsters, and I would probably have to rank 400 monsters. Over 300, 400 monsters, which that would take a long time, so that won't be available till later on. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more content and more of the other content, SpongeBob Bridge and other stuff, because I'm trying to have a goal here. If you haven't seen from the other Twitter posts about my 2025 plan. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Stay secret, y'all.